Jazzcast Pros.
Over the last several weeks, we've explored how sound, touch, and smell influence the depth and quality of your sleep. Sound sets the rhythm for your nervous system. Touch grounds your body through texture, pressure, and alignment. Smell shapes the emotional tone of your bedroom through breath, chemistry, and memory. And today, we're shifting into one of the most overlooked but most powerful senses of all, light. Light is the most powerful timekeeper of your sleep, but it's only the beginning. Sight as a sensory system influences how deeply you rest in ways that are often overlooked. From the glow underneath your door to the color of your walls to the clutter on your nightstand, your visual environment sets the tone for your nervous system. In this episode, we're going to explore how sight shapes sleep, why even minimal light exposure can raise your heart rate overnight, and how you can design a bedroom your brain instantly recognizes as a signal to slow down. If you want deeper sleep and a calmer mind, it starts with what is right in front of you. Welcome to the Doze Podcast. I'm your host, Soda Kuczkowski. I'm a sleep health educator, a certified sleep coach, and founder of Start With Sleep in the Doze. And if you're just joining us this week, you're listening to the next segment of my Sleep by the Senses series, where we look at how your senses influence sleep quality in a meaningful, scientifically grounded, and practical way. In today's conversation, we're exploring sight, the sense that most people underestimate. You might hear about noise or temperature or touch, but sight remains one of the most underestimated drivers in sleep disturbances for millions of people. So I want to start by saying that this episode is one you're probably going to want to revisit, especially if you listen to my other episodes on light regulation, circadian rhythms, or how tools like amber night lights, blackout curtains, and eye masks can shift your sleep completely, because this one is going to build on all of that. Sight is not just about light. It's about visual order, emotional cues, and the micro impressions your brain collects every time you walk into your bedroom. You know, light is the strongest signal that your body receives. Light does not politely hint at your biology. It commands it. Recent studies show that even minimal light exposure while sleeping, as low as 5 to 10 lux, which is equivalent to like a dim hallway light, can increase your heart rate throughout the night. And when your heart rate stays elevated, your body struggles to enter and maintain the deep sleep stages needed for physical restoration. And it's not just about brightness, it's about interference. Even a glow from a charger or a street lamp through your window or a standby light on your television sends a signal to your brain that sleep is not fully safe. You know, you've heard me discuss this before in my episodes on nighttime light exposure and circadian regulation. That's why I'm so passionate about using the right lighting tools, especially things like amber night lights, dimmable lamps, red spectrum lights, and of course, the simple but powerful eye mask. These tools work because they blunt the biological confusion caused by light at the wrong time. Your eyes are wired directly to your circadian clock. What you see and what your body thinks you see determines how deeply you sleep. Here's what you need to understand. Sight goes far beyond lighting. Your brain does not only register brightness, it reads patterns, shapes, symmetry, and emotional tone. Your visual world either soothes your system or it taxes it. When you walk into your bedroom, your brain immediately scans the space for safety and order. That scan does not stop when you turn off the light. Even in dimness, your brain holds an imprint of the room. So if you've got a cluttered nightstand or a pile of clothes or a chaotic color palette, furniture arranged in a way that feels boxed in, these things don't seem stressful, but visually they create microactivation in your brain. Your nervous system cannot fully release into sleep if it does not feel visually resolved. That's why a clutter-free bedroom is not just a design preference, it's a sensory intervention. And once your sleep space is visually settled, color is really an important layer of influence. Now, color is the quiet architect of your emotional state. It speaks to your nervous system long before you consciously register them. So your brain interprets color as information, and that information tells your body whether it's time to stay alert or begin shutting down for the night. Now, cool tones such as soft blues or muted greens or warm neutrals naturally signal calm because they mimic elements found in nature. Now, these shades lower visual tension and they create a sense of steadiness that allows your nervous system to loosen its grip. And when your brain perceives visual ease, it becomes easier for your body to transition into deeper stages of sleep. Now, high contrast colors, overly saturated palettes, or bright accents, they do the opposite. They activate the alerting centers of the brain. That's why a bold or stimulating color scheme in your bedroom can leave you feeling unsettled without you necessarily understanding why, because it's visual noise. Think of color as the emotional soundtrack of your room. If the soundtrack is too intense, your mind stays split between slowing down and staying on guard. It's like you have one foot on the brake and one foot on the gas. You may remember from previous episodes that nighttime lighting plays a crucial role in circadian regulation. And when you pair low spectrum evening lighting with a color palette designed for emotional regulation, you create a double cue. Your eyes register calm, your body follows, and your sleep becomes deeper, steadier, and more predictable. Now, there's another part that is rarely discussed, yet is highly influential and important to the conversation, and that's that your visual system tracks space, not just objects. The way your furniture sits in relation to your doorway, your windows, and pathways can influence how safe and grounded your brain feels. A bed facing the doorway, a clear path across the room, and balanced furniture placement all help your nervous system settle. You don't have to become a feng shui expert. You only need to understand visual ease. Sight is both biological and environmental, and you can support both sides with the right tools. So some tools that support sight as a sleep cue are first, blocking out the wrong light. And this might look like using those sleep eye masks for complete darkness, using blackout curtains to eliminate any type of outdoor light intrusion, using amber or red spectrum lights that protect your melatonin so you're able to produce it at night. The Doze amber glasses, right? The blue blockers to reduce evening blue light exposure, removing glowing electronics and standby lights. So using things like the light dims, whether they're the complete blackout or the red ones. So they're blocking all those little intrusive lights that can keep you awake. The next is setting the right mood. Dim to dark evening lighting to ease your transition into night. As I had mentioned, I have smart appliances in my home, or smart outlets. So I have it where starting at 8:30, it starts to reduce by 10%. So by the time it gets to 10 o'clock, I'm actually in a state where all the lighting in my home is amber. So I'm ready for sleep, which leads me into the idea of smart bulbs, right? This is another way that you can do it besides the outlets. So smart bulbs that shift from day mode to night mode. So in my bedroom, I have one that is a bright blue light in the morning, but in the evening, it's an amber light. Soft wall colors that signal safety and calm. So neutral colors. Think about like if you've ever been to a spa or like a nice hotel, right? They use very neutral, calming colors. And then of course, to complement that, neutral bedding that reduces visual stimulation as well, right? So leave maybe the colors for like the throw pillows. And then the last is creating visual ease, decluttering anything around your bed that can help reduce that cognitive load. A lot of times you don't think that load of laundry in the corner or that pile of books makes a difference, but it really does. The next thing is bedside organization. Using things like trays to keep essentials simple, right? Not piling up things. If you don't have a nightstand that maybe has a drawer, make sure that you're using some sort of containers. You don't just have things piled all over the place, right? The last is calming artwork or a single visual focal point to anchor the space. I just want you to remember that every choice is a cue, and cues build habits, and habits build rhythms. And just to share a little bit about my experience with this sense, right? When it comes back to my own journey, if you've heard me talk about this before, I am a sensitive sleeper, right? So my sensory needs have also evolved, and I've learned to embrace that. Over the years, I've noticed how dramatically sight influences my sleep. I make sure that I block out light aggressively to the point it drives my husband crazy, but I have to have every little light out, especially if we're like traveling. That's why that eye mask is super important. Make sure you have that in your travel kit. But I always make sure that I'm blocking out all of the light. I'm also very intentional about color, and I also arrange my furniture to allow my brain to walk into a room and to feel immediate calm, because I also am a Virgo horoscope. So I like things very orderly and in their place, right? So that is to say that I'm very in touch with what works for me, but I also am ready to adapt when needed, because your sense of sight changes over time and your sleep should reflect those changes. So sight is your first interaction with your sleep environment. It's the entry point for calm. When you create visual harmony, your brain can release, your heart rate can soften, and your body can step into deep sleep with less resistance. And if you want to explore the other senses, then I'm going to encourage you to go back to the previous episodes on touch, sound, smell, and temperature. and they will all help you begin building a full sensory blueprint for your sleep. Thank you for spending your time with me today on the Doze Podcast. If this episode expanded your perspective or gave you something tangible to try tonight, please make sure that you subscribe so you never miss an opportunity to strengthen your sleep. And do me a favor, if you can, share this conversation with someone who deserves deeper sleep and could benefit from rethinking how their senses shape their nights. Until next week, sleep well.